This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by the 2012 Ford Mustang.
Windows Phone 7 ain't dead, it's just merged with Nokia, and the result of that merger, the Lumia 800, Nokia's first Windows Phone 7. Here to give us all the deets on the new handset, Gadgets, Ryan Block. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me.
It's kind of funny. Nokia's been showing these off gadget shows all over the country. Are people excited about Windows Phone 7, or are they going like, oh wow, it's a Windows Phone 7? I mean, what's the reaction been like?
I think it's mixed. I mean, it's actually good. It's not bad. It's actually kind of exciting.
It's a nice interface.
Yes, but I mean, if you've seen some of the devices, like they're not really knockouts. I think the Lumia is actually one of the first devices. Like, wow, you know, I'm going to sit up and take notice. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. The hardware isn't quite there yet.
Let's take a step.
In general, the hardware.
In general, the Windows Phone hardware. Well, there were a lot of crappy Android. There's still a lot of crappy Android phones.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about this. Is Nokia's? Nokia's was basically like, so we really screwed up on smartphones. They threw everything out, and they're starting over with Windows Phone 7. Is the Lumia 800, is this the phone that's going to bring Nokia back into the smartphone race?
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, a lot of their business actually comes from low-end phones, still. So, you know,
which are the majority of the phones sold throughout the planet are low-end phones.
That's right. Although that will change with time. They may not necessarily get higher end, but they will start turning into smartphones. So they need to get a beachhead there. They, you know, their Symbian, their Migo stuff, that's all gone. Okay. They're not going to go anywhere with that. So Windows Phone 7, that's where they're. Yeah. Well, not really.
I have friends that are still weeping over it. No, I have friends.
Terrible.
I have friends who built their entire lives around Symbian applications. They were like, no.
What Symbian applications? They were like, anyway. That's a whole other conversation.
It's the ones they've been running for the last 7 years.
Right. Windows Phone 7, I think, you know, it's a good alternative to what's out there. It provides them enough customization with enough, you know, strong UI that they can kind of differentiate from Android, which is still a little on the inconsistent side. I'm being nice there. Android is very
erratic as all hell.
But you know, it's not without issues, and it's still kind of early. I mean, Mango Windows Phone 7.5 was, you know, one of their biggest upgrades yet, and it's got some cool stuff in there, but nothing that I think really puts it ahead of the game.
Right. What does Microsoft get out of this relationship? Do they finally get like a major vendor dealing with their phones?
That's what it is.
Well, a major vendor dealing with their phones and making Windows Phone 7 a priority rather than like, oh yeah, we got 17 Android phones. We can throw a Windows Phone out there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They don't have as many phones in stores. The fewer phones you have, the fewer phones you're selling. Right. And having a big name, you know, huge brand like Nokia put out a flagship phone. They're one big phone that runs Windows Phone 7, I think it's going to be a pretty big deal for them.
Let's take a look at it. What's the, obviously, big screen, nice case design, feels good in the hand.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think is most interesting about it actually is the curved glass. It's got a very subtle curve on it, which is very unique. Actually, the whole device is a kind of an interesting shape.
It's got a good feel to it.
Yeah, it feels really solid. I mean, Nokia can be kind of hit and miss on its smartphone stuff. Sometimes it feels really nice, sometimes it feels really cheap. This is one of the most solid feeling smartphones I've seen out there. And if you compare this to...
How do I get the screen back up?
Yeah, screen button, the actual power button's on the side right next to the volume, which I don't know why they did that. But compared to the Samsung Focus S, I think, the other, one of the other big Windows phones out there right now, this is, you know, it feels a lot better. It just feels nicer.
It's got that little sort of haptic touch feeling going on there.
Yep.
What do they do? How is it different primarily? Obviously, the design sets it off from the other Windows Phone 7 models and the unusual button location. What else is going on inside of the phone?
Well, Nokia has some of its crappy Nokia software in there, which you'll probably want to promptly not use. I mean, I don't know. Let's find one here, like Nokia Maps, which they use to take the place of the Big Maps app. You know, it's in Nokia's kind of classic, terrible, ugly font. It doesn't really look all that great. You know, they kind of bundled some of their stuff. Look, they are not a great software company, and none of the software that they have bundled that I've played with really impresses me. So, you know, I think they're still trying to push the Nokia brand as part of the ecosystem. But, I mean, it's missing, you know, like the OV stuff that they've been doing for the last few years. It's missing, you know, a lot of their kind of proprietary Nokia software. They did include a few things where I think that they felt they could make some improvements. Maps, they have Nokia Drive on here, which I think came from their Navtech acquisition a couple of years back. So, you know, they've got some stuff in there.
Have you sort of bonded with Windows Phone 7, or you're still looking around going like, there should be apps for a Windows platform, don't you think?
There's actually some apps in there that are pretty decent. I mean, the thing that kind of cracks me up the most is that even to this day, the Windows Phone 7 app for YouTube is still a shortcut to m.youtube.com, which is just sad.
Well, do you think they can really improve on m.youtube.com?
I mean, who could possibly improve on that?
Yeah, no comment. What have there been any sort of third-party applications that you've fallen in love with, or just at this
I wouldn't
point?
say fallen in love with, but I mean, overall, I personally prefer Windows Phone 7 Android. When I do use it, I feel like it's just faster. It feels like there's less going on, so I can focus more on what I'm doing. It's a lot more consistent visually speaking. I like it more. It's more to my speed, but it has not yet gotten to the place where I'm going to switch over to it.
How about the specs on the phone in terms of the camera? What's going on with that?
Well, it's got an 8 megapixel, which is kind of now the standard size that you're going to expect. It's fast. Nice. It's got a pretty good camera on there. Nokia's always done a pretty decent job with its cameras. It's got a 1.2, I think 1.4 gigahertz processor, Qualcomm processor. So it's fast. It definitely does not feel like it's lagging very much.
So one of the big questions for me, Nokia has always been kind of at the high end awkward about embracing the U.S. Smartphone market is always about subsidized. Basically, if I want to buy an unlocked iPhone, I pay $800. If I want to buy an iPhone with a 2-year subscription, I pay $150, $300, $400 depending on the model. Nokia has always kind of been like, you can pay the full price, or you can buy another phone. Are they going to embrace the sort of traditional U.S. model for phones, or?
So we haven't really seen that yet. This actual device that they sent to me was, I think it was a UK version. It does work just fine here in America. It's got all the bands needed, so I was able to test it out just fine. But we haven't really seen a major release here yet. I think that they know that they have to get into that game in order to be able to sell devices. They've just had really poor U.S. distribution since forever, and they've not really cared a lot about U.S. as a market. I think that they know they need to change that.
That'll be interesting to watch. What's coming up on Gadget this week, Ryan?
Oh man, we got Kindle Fire stuff going on. We got the Kindle Touch stuff going on. Obviously, Lumia has been a really hotly anticipated device. Hopefully, we're going to get our holiday guide out in the next week or so. We're working on it. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff.
Ryan, awesome stuff as always. Ladies and gentlemen, the website gdgt.com to find more of Ryan's work. Go there. It's called Gadget. It's spelled GDGT. It is good stuff. Check it out. More Tekzilla coming right up. Before we do that, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors.
It was an epic struggle. Took a crowbar and a little bit of talking, but we managed to get our 2012 Mustang back from the Dignation crew. Everyone has been trying to get their hands on this car and take it for a spin. One of the coolest things in the 2012 Ford Mustang, not the fact you can fit an 8-foot piece of lumber in it without damaging the car. The back seats fold down. That's good. But the sync technology built into the Mustang has send to sync. It's great. On your computer, at home, you get directions to your destination, then you send them straight to the vehicle. You get in the car, it already knows where you want to go.
Services. Google Maps has sent you to Westpoint 765, Pennsylvania Avenue South in San Francisco. Downloading.
It's downloading.
Continue on Valencia Street for 10 feet and then turn left to Cesar Chavez.
Thanks again to Ford and the 2012 Mustang for sponsoring Tekzilla today.